Your debt was not an accident. Your brain was engineered to fall into it. For 300,000 years, humans evolved in a world of danger, scarcity, and instant survival. But today, you live inside a financial system built perfectly to exploit those ancient instincts. Every impulse you feel, every purchase you make, every moment of stress that pushes you toward credit, it's not a coincidence. It's psychology. And someone profits every time your brain reacts the way it was designed to. If you want to understand the system and escape it, subscribe now. Every week, we expose the hidden psychology behind money, power, and financial manipulation. Your brain was designed for debt. Most people think debt is a modern invention, a financial tool created by banks, governments, and corporations to keep the world moving. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. Your brain is biologically wired to fall into debt. Not because you're irresponsible, not because you're lazy, but because human psychology was built for a world that looked nothing like the one we live in today. For 300,000 years, the human brain evolved in conditions of scarcity, immediate survival, and short-term reward cycles. Every instinct you have, every desire, every impulse, every fear was shaped by a world where the future was uncertain and resources were unpredictable. That ancient mindset still lives inside you. It's the reason we crave instant gratification. It's the reason long-term planning feels painful. It's the reason spending feels good and saving feels like punishment. And it's the reason millions of Americans today are drowning in debt they never intended to take on. Because the modern financial system isn't neutral. It's built on top of your deepest biological weaknesses. Credit cards exploit your reward circuitry. Loans exploit your optimism bias. Interest exploits your inability to predict the future. And debt itself taps into the most powerful psychological driver of all, the fear of missing out on a resource that might not be available tomorrow. Banks know this. Corporations know this. And billionaires? They study these psychological vulnerabilities the same way scientists study animal behavior, because controlling them means controlling entire economies. This video isn't about numbers or charts. It's about why the human mind collapses under the weight of a system it was never designed to navigate. Why your ancestors' survival instincts are being used against you. And why the financial world feels impossible to escape. If you've ever wondered why Americans keep falling into the same debt traps, generation after generation, the answer isn't economic. It's human. And to understand it, we need to go back, way back, to the beginning of the human mind. The ancient brain that still controls you. To understand why modern debt feels inescapable, you have to understand a brutal truth. Your brain is not modern. Your phone is modern. Your bank is modern. Your economy is modern. But your brain? It's the same biological machine your ancestors carried through the African savanna 100,000 years ago. Back then, life was simple and terrifying. Food didn't come every day. Shelter wasn't guaranteed. Tomorrow wasn't promised. So the human brain evolved one mission. Get what you need now. Deal with the consequences later. This is why, even today, you choose pleasure over planning. You pick comfort over discipline. You react to money emotionally, not logically. You feel safe when you acquire, and threatened when you restrain. Because in the ancient world, waiting was death. Saving resources made no sense if your tribe could be wiped out by disease, predators, or famine the next morning. So your brain learned to prioritize immediate gratification. Eat now, use now, consume now, survive now. And then, civilization happened. Agriculture appeared. Cities emerged. Money was invented. Economies were built. Credit systems formed. And then suddenly, within just a few thousand years, the world demanded something the human brain never evolved to do. Think long-term. Sacrifice short-term pleasure, delay gratification, predict the future, control impulses, manage abstract numbers. Your brain had no update, no new hardware, no new operating system. It was thrown into a world of banks, interest rates, credit scores, compound debt, 30-year mortgages, and trillion-dollar economies, while still running on the same survival software designed for hunter-gatherers. And here's where things get dangerous. Corporations and financial institutions understand this mismatch perfectly. They know your instincts better than you know yourself. They know exactly which psychological buttons to push. Because the modern economy is built on forcing your ancient brain into a world it cannot naturally understand, and then charging you interest for every mistake it makes. This isn't your fault. It's evolution. It's biology. It's the cognitive engine you inherited. And once you see how this ancient machinery operates beneath your decisions, you begin to understand the trap. Debt isn't just financial. It's neurological. And the people who control the system know exactly how to weaponize that. The biology of spending. Why buying feels like survival. If you've ever wondered why spending money feels good, sometimes too good, the answer isn't emotional or cultural. It's biological. Every time you buy something, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, the same chemical associated with survival, reward, and escaping danger. In the ancient world, dopamine signaled something critical. You found a resource. Get it before someone else does. That response kept our ancestors alive. Today, it keeps Americans drowning in credit card balances. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between buying food to survive and buying a new phone because it feels good. The chemistry is the same. But the most dangerous part isn't the dopamine high. It's what happens after. Your brain also releases a second chemical called endorphin relief, which creates a short-lived sense of safety and stability. For your ancestors, this meant you've secured something essential. You're safe for now. In the modern world, it tricks you into believing you made the right financial decision, even if you didn't. This is why people feel guilty before spending, but relieved after they swipe the card. Your brain literally rewards you for the act of purchase, not the outcome, and the financial system knows it. Credit card companies design their cards with precise colors, decisive clicks, smooth tactile finishes, even specific approval sounds, all engineered to maximize your dopamine response. You think you're buying a product, but what you're actually buying is a chemical reaction. And corporations exploit this flawlessly. Sales psychology, Black Friday layouts, mall architecture, Amazon's one-click checkout, all of it is designed to activate ancient survival impulses inside your brain. Acquire, secure, reward, repeat. This is also why saving money feels uncomfortable. There is no dopamine in restraint. There is no reward chemical in patience. Your brain experiences saving as a form of deprivation, the exact opposite of what it was designed to crave. And then comes the deadliest trap, uncertainty. When faced with unknowns, war, inflation, layoffs, recession, the brain defaults to survival mode. Impulsive spending, emotional buying, and short-term decisions that feel comforting, but destroy long-term stability. In other words, your brain treats spending like survival and treats saving like danger. This mismatch didn't break your ancestors. But in a world of unlimited credit, digital payments, and predatory financial systems, it breaks millions of Americans every year. How the financial system weaponizes your primitive brain. If the human brain was simply outdated, that would already be a problem. But the truth is far darker. The modern financial system is intentionally designed to exploit your primitive instincts. Not accidentally, not passively, but deliberately, with decades of research behind every design choice, every interface, every marketing strategy, and every financial product you interact with. Banks, corporations, and governments have studied human behavior so deeply that today's economy is built around a single idea. If your brain can be predicted, it can be controlled. If it can be controlled, it can be monetized. Let's break this down piece by piece. 1. Credit cards. The perfect psychological trap. A credit card is not a payment tool. It is a behavioral experiment engineered to make you overspend. No pain of parting with cash, delayed consequences. Rewards and points that activate your dopamine system, minimum payments that reduce guilt, smooth frictionless interfaces. Every element exists for one reason: to separate you emotionally from the reality of spending. When paying hurts less, you buy more. And when you buy more, the system wins. 2. Loans. Exploiting your optimism bias, humans evolved to be overly optimistic, because optimism kept tribes exploring, hunting, and surviving. But in modern finance, that same bias becomes a weapon. Loans prey on your belief that future me will handle it. I'll have more money later. Things will work out. Here's the truth the financial system hopes you'll never understand. Optimism increases interest revenue. The more hopeful the borrower, the more profitable they become. 3. Interest. A tax on human impatience. The entire concept of interest is built on your brain's inability to delay gratification. Your instinct wants something now. The financial system charges you for that impulse. Again and again and again. Interest isn't just a fee. It's a behavioral penalty for being human. 4. Buy now, pay later. The new psychological warfare. This is the most dangerous invention in modern finance. Buy now, pay later. Systems directly exploit the cognitive flaw known as temporal discounting, your brain's inability to value future consequences. It bypasses every logical defense you have and speaks directly to the primitive brain. Take it, get it, have it now. We'll worry later. The result? A nation drowning in microdebts they don't even recognize as real debt. 5. Advertising. Engineering artificial needs. Corporations spend billions to hijack the exact neural circuits that used to keep your ancestors alive. Every ad is a psychological attack designed to trigger status anxiety, tribal comparison, scarcity fear, loss aversion, insecurity, instant reward, seeking you're not buying a product. You're buying the feeling that your primitive brain believes will protect your place in the tribe. 6. The system doesn't want you educated. It wants you predictable. If Americans made rational financial decisions, the economy would collapse overnight. Consumerism requires impulse, emotion, fear, reward, distraction, short-term thinking. The system isn't broken. It functions exactly as intended. Your debt is not an accident. It's the business model. And the more your ancient brain reacts, the more the system profits. Why Americans are the perfect targets. The cultural triggers. If you think this psychological exploitation affects every country the same way, it doesn't. There's a reason the United States is the global capital of debt, and it has nothing to do with incompetence or lack of discipline. It's cultural, it's systemic, and it's engineered. America is the perfect environment for financial manipulation because the country was built on 3 powerful psychological triggers that corporations, banks, and governments understand better than anyone else. Let's break them down. 1. The American dream creates the perfect illusion for decades. Americans have been raised on a story. You deserve more. You should have more. You're supposed to live better than your parents. And if you don't, you're failing. This narrative is emotionally powerful, but financially fatal. Why? Because it conditions millions of people to feel entitled to comfort, luxury, and convenience before they can afford it. And nothing fuels debt faster than the belief that I should have this now, and I'll figure out the rest later. Corporations know how deeply this dream is embedded in the American psyche. They weaponize it in every advertisement, every loan approval, every 0% APR for 12 months offer. The American dream is no longer a path. It's a marketing strategy. 2. Status anxiety. America's most profitable emotion. Americans are raised in a competitive, image-driven culture where your value is seen through your car, your home, your clothes, your vacations, your lifestyle, your success. This tribal comparison reflex comes from ancient survival psychology, but in the modern world, it's a gold mine for the financial system. Because if you can trigger status anxiety, you can sell anything. The fear of falling behind drives Americans straight into mortgages they can't afford, cars they don't need, upgrades they don't require, lifestyles that exist only to impress other people. Debt thrives wherever insecurity exists. And America has turned insecurity into a national identity. 3. A consumer culture built on neurochemical highs. Unlike countries with stronger saving cultures, America built its economy around spending, not restraint. Everything in the U.S., from malls to entertainment to social media, is designed to trigger dopamine and keep the cycle spinning. New iPhones every year, constant sales, lifestyle, branding, product scarcity drops, fast shipping, buy now culture. This isn't just a habit. It's a national psychological pattern. And because the economy depends on constant consumption, financial education is intentionally weak. A population that understands money is dangerous. A population that acts on impulse is profitable. 4. A system that turns struggle into shame. In many countries, financial difficulty is seen as a circumstance. In America, it's seen as a personal failure. This shame is one of the most powerful psychological weapons in the system. Shame keeps people silent. Silence keeps people uninformed. And uninformed people make predictable decisions. Debt grows where shame lives. 5. Why this makes Americans the perfect targets when you combine cultural entitlement, status anxiety, reward-driven consumption, weak financial education, and systemic shame. You create the perfect psychological profile for exploitation. It's not that Americans are irresponsible. It's that the environment is engineered to produce predictable financial behavior at scale. Behavior that keeps the system alive and keeps the average person trapped. The escape: rewiring a brain that was never built for modern money. If everything you've heard so far sounds overwhelming, that's because it is. You are fighting a battle your ancestors never had to face. A battle against a financial system built on behavioral exploitation and a brain designed for survival, not strategy. But here's the truth the system hopes you never discover. You can't escape debt by being disciplined. You escape it by rewiring your brain. And for the first time in history, we actually know how to do that. Let's break down the 4 psychological rewrites that allow you to break the cycle, not by forcing willpower, but by redesigning how your mind interacts with money. 1. Turn saving into a reward, not a restriction. Your brain hates saving because there's no dopamine in it. So you create the dopamine manually. Research shows that when you attach visual progress, milestones, and emotional reinforcement to saving money, your brain begins to treat it as a reward, not deprivation. That's why visual trackers, reward-based saving goals, gamified budgeting, automatic transfer streaks, and progress bars are so powerful. You're not building discipline. You're hacking your own neural reward system. 2. Reduce financial friction, but only for the right behaviors. The system removes friction from spending. You reverse it. Add friction where you want control. Remove saved cards from browsers. Delete autopay that causes mindless spending. Use debit instead of credit. Add a 24-hour delay rule for purchases, but remove friction from wealth-building behaviors. Auto-investing, auto-saving, auto-debt payments, automated budgeting apps. Your brain performs best when the path of least resistance leads toward stability, not chaos. 3. Override emotional spending with a primitive hack. Impulsive buying happens when the ancient brain takes over. So you counter it with a competing instinct: fear of loss. Before every purchase, ask one question: what am I losing later by buying this now? This activates the same neural circuitry used to avoid danger, shifting the brain from acquire mode to protect mode. You're not becoming logical. You're simply redirecting the survival instinct. 4. Rebuild your environment, because it controls 80% of your behavior. Most financial decisions aren't made consciously. They're reactions to your environment. So instead of trying to change your brain first, you change what your brain interacts with. Unsubscribe from marketing emails, remove shopping apps. Replace triggers with educational content. Keep financial dashboards visible. Surround yourself with people who value stability over status. Your brain will always mirror its environment. You simply choose the environment that rewires it. 5. Understand that long-term thinking is a learned skill, not a natural one. Your ancestors didn't plan for retirement. They planned for tomorrow. Long-term financial thinking is not instinctive. It's an artificial skill built through repetition. Weekly financial reviews, automatic forecasting tools, long-term goals broken into micro milestones, visualizing future outcomes, connecting today's decision to future identity. The more your brain sees the future as part of your identity, the less it falls for short-term traps. 6. Master the one principle that breaks the cycle forever. If you remember only one thing from this entire video, let it be this: your brain was designed for survival, not prosperity. But survival instincts can be reprogrammed. When you understand the psychology behind your financial decisions, debt becomes predictable spending, becomes controllable saving, becomes logical. Investing becomes natural, wealth becomes behavioral, not mystical. This is the escape, not discipline, not guilt, not shame, but understanding your brain so deeply that the system loses its power over you. Because once you see the trap clearly, you stop walking into it blindly. And when your mind finally aligns with your goals, the financial world stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like something you can actually win. If this video opened your eyes even a little, don't stop here. Your mind is the most powerful financial weapon you have, and no one ever taught you how to use it. Subscribe for the next chapter in this series, and share this video with someone who needs to break the cycle too. Your brain was not made for this world, but together we can rewire it.